Hi, everyone. I hope we're all having a lovely Tuesday. I'm going to give another moment or so to let a few more people join, and then we can get started for this afternoon. Okay. Welcome everyone. My name is Carmen, and I'm the training coordinator at the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple SBDC helps small businesses start and grow. We provide free one-on-one counseling and a variety of low to no cost webinars, and we are proud to be a part of the nationally accredited network of SBDCs with over 1,000 centers across the United States. You have joined us this afternoon for Introduction to Payment Processing. A copy of today's PowerPoint and a link to the recording of this session will be sent out to all attendees. And while all attendees have been muted, we encourage you to post any questions in the chat or Q&A, which will be addressed throughout the session. And now I will turn the floor over to David.
Thank you, Carmen. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining. Really appreciate your time today. As you signed up and as Carmen mentioned, we are going to talk about payment processing. The assumption here is that you are all entrepreneurs and you are thinking about how to take payments for your business. We're going to talk about what they may look like, some of the payment processors out there, and some of the things to look for when you are trying to take payments for your business, right? So in order to run a business in some form or fashion, you need to be able to take a payment. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Carmen is going to be monitoring the chat as well as any questions, the Q&A as well, to see if there's any questions. What we're going to do is, as they come up, Carmen's going to interject those as we proceed through this presentation. So welcome again, and I'm going to get started here. My name again is David Pomeroy. I'm with BKZ Consulting Partners. The business has been together for 20 years in North Wales, Pennsylvania. We are a merchant services company that provides payment services. We provide payment services in many different capabilities. Some of them over the phone, some of them via email, website, mobile methods, and other opportunities as well. We are also PCI compliance experts. So PCI compliance, what the heck does that mean? That's payment card industry. So as you take payments into your business, you have to be compliant with payment card industry standards. We can also provide that service as well. So let's move on to the next slide here. So how did credit cards even come into existence? Well, a long time ago, there was a diner inside of a department store, and somebody didn't have the money to pay with cash, and they said, hey, write me up an IOU, and I'll pay you tomorrow. Well, that turned into a form of credit, let's say, and there was how a credit card got launched. Right? Somebody came up with the idea of, hey, let's give this guy a card that has some sort of limit on it and some monetary value, and they're able to use it until that limit is met, right? So credit card acceptance translates into a higher average sale. If you look at some of the numbers online, you'll see that if somebody has cash, they are less willing to spend over and above a certain amount of money. However, if they utilize their credit card, that average sale will go up only because they have the ability to, right? If they don't have the cash on hand. So accepting credit cards is pretty important in a business, especially if you want to capture that higher level of average sale. And then from a consumer perspective, right? So the consumer is going to use that card because they are earning some sort of reward for utilizing that card. A lot of these companies, a lot of businesses, I'm sorry, a lot of the card providers are offering some sort of point system that can be accumulated and then utilized towards a purchase or some other type of reward. So this is pretty granular slide here. This is the nitty gritty of the credit card business. So this is what we'll call our deep dive here into credit card processing. So you're probably familiar with, if you're more local and familiar with Temple and utilizing the SBDC, you're probably familiar with a company called Wawa. And when you go into that Wawa gas station, you slide your card into the gas station pump and fill your car with gas. Well, that pump and the card processing machine that's in there requests information from you as you go through that process. That information that they are requesting, right, that they can't get off of the card itself, is going to help them create a smaller charge from the credit card industry, right? So what we're looking at here is the cost to use a card to the merchant. So if a customer a customer comes in and they charge $100, these are the charges that it's going to be to the merchant, the minimum charges just to utilize that card. So on the far left, you see a debit card. It's a nickel for a debit card transaction to occur based on the card standards in the industry. And some of this information that we're talking about right now is going to make more sense as we go through this slide. A regular standard MasterCard, right? A non-rewards card is $1.54. That is an industry standard charge or a merchant fee for accepting a MasterCard that is a standard card. And then I'm not going to go all the way across here. You can see some of the other charges against a $100 sale. That's the minimum amount that is going to be charged by the credit card to the merchant. Okay. So when you are creating, let's say, a model, right, a pricing model for your product or your service or whatever it may be, these need to be included, right? At least this amount needs to be included in the cost of whatever the product or service may be. Okay. Carmen, any questions yet? Because I know this is like a jump from, okay, what's a credit card to this is exactly what a credit card is, and what the costs are. So please let me know if any questions come up. I will go to the next slide.
Yep, all clear in the chat for now.
Great. Thank you very much. So the 5 key players in a credit card transaction are the card holder or the customer, the merchant, the person that's providing the service or a product, the payment processor who sends the monthly statement and routes a transaction for delivery to the payment authorizer, the card issuer. So, we see these commercials a million times, what's in your wallet, just to create some relevance here. And then there's the brands right there at the bottom of the slide: Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and Amex. They establish the rules on how business cards are accepted. Okay. So not too granular there. So a credit card sale process, this is all the different hops that once a card is presented at a business that occur. So really the main takeaway from here is that you want a reputable merchant services provider for you so that this process takes place in the time that it should always take. And we have it on the screen here, 2 to 6 seconds from the time the card is presented to the merchant until it's actually approved or denied based on the credit worthiness of the card holder. Okay. And again, just to add a little flavor to this, it would behoove you to understand that A merchant service provider is there to consult and provide support for the person who is running, or the merchant themselves, or the business owner. So you want somebody who is proactively helping you to ensure that you are getting the best service, right? Not just the best service, but the best rates as well. And we're going to get more into that as we go along here. So there's two types of pricing models that I'm going to talk about today specifically, pay per swipe and interchange plus pricing. Pay per swipe is that there's no monthly fee in order to have an account. So for instance, PayPal and Square, you see the two logos here. Very easy to understand, right? Because it is straightforward on what the cost is going to be in order for you to provide credit card type of transaction services. Okay. So I want to create some relevance to this. So I actually went out to, and these fees are always changing with PayPal and Square. So I actually went out to their website and pulled it up here just for relevance to talk to this a little bit. So these are the most up to date, and these are constantly changing transaction rates for PayPal, right? So here you see that they're even higher than what I have on the page. 3.49 plus a fixed fee. And the fixed fee can be any range depending on the amount of information that's coming with the credit card. Okay. So just for conversation's sake, as part of this presentation, is to understand exactly what your costs are going to be for your product or service to include these charges. Okay. So 2.75 to 3.25, and we saw on that web page that it's even higher than these transaction costs. So recall that back in our previous slide, that $100 sale, I'm going to go back real quick. Give me 1 second here. So we go back to the slide that I showed you previously about the minimum charges for a card. So PayPal is charging you over and above. So let's just say 3%, just for number's sake. It would be $3 no matter which card you took here, right? So if it was a debit card, it would be 3%. If it was a corporate card, it would be 3% plus, right? Plus whatever the transaction fee is per transaction. So just to give you an idea of what PayPal's net is over and above what the cost of the card is by itself. All right. And that is a pay per swipe model, which is what PayPal is, which is what Square is, or Block. I think it's called Block now. Those types of services, right? Software based, easy to connect to, no monthly fees, but high, very, very, very high rates per swipe. Okay. So a merchant service is like our business. We provide a card brand fee, which is interchange plus, and a fixed percentage fee on top of the card fee. So for instance, an example would be if you took a regular MasterCard and utilized a service like a merchant services provider, they would charge you $1.54 plus some small fee above whatever the minimum charge is by the credit card company. And this is something that can be negotiated up front and contractual. Certainly something that you need to be aware of as you get into your business and pricing models. Okay. So hopefully that was pretty clear on the difference between interchange and a pay per swipe model. Okay. So next slide is interchange plus pricing establishes a set percentage above card brand fees and keeps the merchant from overpaying. So really, as you're looking for services, this is the type of pricing model that you want to have. Okay. Next, So this is a very important aspect of this process and taking credit cards. And what this image is depicting is some validation information based on taking a credit card. So you'll notice that I'm going to go back to my Wawa and getting gas. When you pull into the Wawa gas station, you put your credit card in, depending on which button you push, whether it's credit or debit, you have to include some sort of information. If you push debit, it's going to be a nickel charge to Wawa, right? But then they're going to ask you for your PIN, and they may ask you for either your code or your zip code. So the reason for that is that the less information that is part of a transaction, let's say we didn't have the um, zip code or we didn't have the security code, there's going to be an upcharge because of the lack of information. And the reason for that is risk. There's more risk to the credit card issuer, right? As opposed to if they have more information and that information is validated. So when they ask for the zip code, they are validating the zip code of that card. Okay. So again, a merchant services provider should consult with you. And let's say you have a website and you are selling t-shirts, and those t-shirts are put into a shopping cart. And then during that shopping cart process, there's a checkout. When you get to the checkout step, there's going to be at that point, somebody's going to have to put in credit card information. If all of the billing information is included, for instance, the zip code, the address, the name, the security code, the cost for that transaction is going to be less based on the amount of information as opposed to not having that information. So it's very important for everyone to understand that as they move through this process. Okay. Carmen,
David,
any questions? Yeah.
perfect timing. We do have a question in the chat.
Yes, please.
John is asking, are the quotes for the various types of cards also applicable to a service business that works in multiple states? In other words, I have no swipe machines. I send an invoice to a client and they cut the check to my business. How does it work if I want the client or customer to pay virtually?
So it sounds like they want to be able to send an invoice via an email. I think that's the relevance here. And yes, so what would happen in that case? Um, that service would provide a link to an invoice, and that invoice would go through that payment process. Now, if it's an ACH, which would be a check process, it would just look a little bit different in that they would be putting in checking information. So there's two ways to do it. You could take a credit card via an invoice, via an email, or you could take an ACH or a check type of process over the internet as well. And the credit card is going to be a little bit more expensive than the ACH. The ACH is a minimal charge as opposed to, let's call it debit card almost, to an actual credit card transaction. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. As part of this as part of the presentation too, my email address, I believe, is in it. And if it's not, it will be included with information. Oh, it is. It's in the last slide. So we're good. So I don't have much more content here, Carmen. I mean, that's pretty much a very broad overview of payment processing, right? So there's many different ways for you to take a credit card for payment, right? So what you see on the screen here is a credit card machine at the top left-hand corner that you just wave by the machine, or you use what's called NFC, near field communication. You tap, right? You dip or you swipe, are the different terminologies for that. The device right below that is a Bluetooth device that you can connect to your phone that allows you to take payment a little more simplistic. in nature. However, you utilize your phone's internet as the means of communication to take the credit card payments. Add to cart, right? So shopping cart style of payment processing. And then what you see there in front of you is an invoice, right? That somebody would complete in order to make a payment to a business. That's
Okay.
that's pretty much all I have. I'd like to keep it simple, high level, and allow for questions to flow in, Carmen. So if there's more questions, hopefully, we can answer those.
We do have another question from John that's a bounce off of his prior question.
Good for
Um,
John. Good for John.
I anticipate low volume transitions, but a higher dollar volume per billing invoice,
Uh-huh.
maybe $10,000. Is the
Oh,
percentage I am charged the same as a small $100 transaction, or is there a step cost reduction for higher transactions? Paying $295 for one $10,000 transaction just seems high to me.
no, he's not wrong. And that's exactly how it works, John. Until you solidify some type of business process and have some historical information, historical transaction information, your risk is going to be very, very high. In that case, um, it's almost worth it to only accept checks at that point until you get to some sort of higher level of revenue, and then start thinking about a credit card opportunity for taking payments, right? Because you certainly don't want to continue to get dinged every time you get $10,000 charge, but then you're also considered high risk if you don't have historical information and or are not established for multiple years. Hopefully that helps, John. I
Okay,
just we deal directly with the underwriters because we're a true merchant services provider. So those types of things happen all the time.
okay, another
A-
question.
Another
David.
thing might be, I'm sorry, Carmen, just
No, go
to
ahead.
go back to John real fast, is it might behoove him to take payments, right? If he creates some type of payment plan for that person, that risk would be lower from that perspective, right? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Carmen.
No, you're all right. David, can you please explain what a company like BKZ does for small businesses looking to use card processes?
So what BKZ does is they try to understand the business and what type of service or products they are offering, right? So we do a consultation as mentioned in the name, and from that consultation we understand what types of payments you may want to take, whether it's an over-the-counter process, whether it's a non-face-to-face process, what that might look like as far as the payment processing needs. And then from that, we'll formulate a solution, architect it for you, and then be able to provide it. So this is the type of partnership you would want with any merchant services provider. The ability to consult with them, their ability to provide you the least costly and most effective payment solution, and then be able to call them at a whim in order to have support when you have trouble.
Okay, we do not have any more questions in the chat. Oh,
Okay.
yes, we do. John is back. If I elect to use a merchant service business, do I need to sign a service agreement with them? If
Yes.
yes, what are the general terms and opportunity to discontinue at some point?
So the terms are particular to that business, right? So cancellation fee, if you cancel early, there could be a fee. The things to look for, a startup fee, cancellation fee, and then device fees. If you're gonna require devices, what are the costs for the devices? I can tell you that there's no startup fee for us. There's no cancellation fee for us. Just a little plug. The reason for that is we want your business and we want to keep your business. Hope that makes sense to you.
Okay,
Those are the things to look for.
someone is asking if you can go back to the slide with the card process.
Sure. Well, the slideshow will be available to them, correct, Carmen?
Oh, yes, everyone will be getting a copy of this PowerPoint
Okay.
in a follow-up email.
Okay. So which slide? I'm sorry.
The card process.
So I think it was this one right here, I believe.
Um, I believe so.
Okay.
2 slides forward from this one.
Oh, okay. The process. Got it. So what it looks like when somebody presents a card at a business. Got it. There you go. So all of that takes around 2 to 6 seconds um, for that to occur. And basically it's whatever the card provides as far as technology for presentation. And then all of this information, all these handshakes are occurring in the background via the internet.
Okay, another
Right?
question. This is a bounce off for John. Um, how does the money actually get into my business account? What is the timing of that deposit and when may I be able to access it? Does BKZ deposit into my account, uh,
Yes.
Bank or other?
Yes. So as part of signing up, you would provide your banking information and the batches are run. So a day's worth of transactions are run and deposited every 24 hours.
Okay, I will give another minute or up. Is merchant services the only way?
No, I pay. So let's clarify. Merchant services is a business like BKZ. What PayPal and Square and Block and all of these online providers are payment facilitators. They only facilitate the payment. They they are not a true merchant services provider, so you will not get a merchant number. They just facilitate your ability to take the payment. So a bit of a difference there. And the best thing to do is to Google that payment facilitator as opposed to a merchant services provider. Big conversation there. Not part of intro to payment processing. All right.
We are looking pretty good in the chat. Before we close out here, I am going to post a link in the chat to a survey about today's webinar. It takes literally less than a minute to complete, and it is required by our funders. So if everyone could just take a moment to fill this out, we would be super appreciative. One more question in the chat. What is a facilitator? Do I have a cost with them too?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Carmen?
What is a facilitator and do I have a cost with them too?
So a facilitator would be like PayPal is a payment facilitator, and we reviewed that at the beginning of what their costs are. So it is right on their website, which I am going to bring right to the screen. This is some of the fees that PayPal will charge you. They are a payment facilitator. So if you Google that, you'll get all the information you'll ever want and then some. So,
Okay, and we are looking pretty good. David, thank you so much for your time. Everyone, thank you for joining us. And I hope this was helpful and I hope everyone has a great rest of their week. Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.